So in this video is all about external tables, specifically using the preprocessor option of external tables. So I'm going to have two examples. In this first example, I'm going to create a external table from a CSV that is zipped, and I'm going to grab since the definition of external tables is rather complicated. I just grabbed an example out of the documentation. There's two good places for the documentation about external tables. One is chapter 20 of the admin guide, and one is various chapters of the utilities guide. And in particular, chapter 14 of the utilities guide has some examples using preprocessor. But in this case, I grabbed an example out of the admin guide in chapter 20. It didn't have the preprocessor option in, but it was simple to add. So we'll get to that in a second. So the first thing is that we have, let's take a look at the CSV file. Alright, so it's a list of towns and the points that they've accumulated, or how many games they've played, points they've accumulated, or goal differences in total number of points. And notice that there is, the first line is sort of a header line, so which can be ignored, and I'll talk about that in a second. But we don't have a zip file for it, so let's go ahead and zip it. Zip external table1.zip of this guy. And let's just zcat it just to see that it worked properly. And it did. But the preprocessor option refers to a script, and the script needs to be owned by Oracle. Since zcat isn't owned by Oracle, I'm going to create a script called zcat.sh. Let's go ahead and do that, zcat.sh. And it's important to schmod it enough so that Oracle can use it. So I'm just going to go ahead and schmod it 777. And then let's test it out. zcat.sh of the external table.zip. So that's good, that's working. So now let's look at the create external table syntax. Now again, I copied this directly out of the chapter 20 admin guide, and then I modified it for this particular external table. So there are 4 columns: team, played, goal difference, and points. And there's a number of places where you can define different directories, although I used the same directory for each. There is a line here that says preprocessor and the directory, and what I'm calling. The quotes are important here, as is that the schmodding of this particular script. I could also say skip space 1 as an option, but I'm leaving it out. This definition will reject it, so it will be ignored. So let's go ahead and run the thing. Actually, also, since we have to create an actually, let's cat it in. The one thing we have to do is create these external directories. I only have one, so let's go ahead and create or replace it. So let's go ahead and run this particular script, and let's just see if we get data. And we do. So in the second example, we're going to do a variation on a theme of the first one, but in this case we're going to create the external table definition from a SQL loader, and then we're going to use that to actually create the external table. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second here. So in this particular case, I'm going to use the same data that I had before. And I'm actually created a SQL loader definition for it. So I'm pretending that I'm loading it into table 2. The table 2 actually has to be created. It has to be a real table. And but I can use a syntax to not to actually load it, but to generate the external table definition of it. So let's show you how that's done. So SQL plus I want to go ahead and create the table. Describe table 2. All right, so now let's go ahead and run the SQL loader with a special option. So I'll show you what that is. SQL LDR. Control is equal to table2.ctl, and then we say external table is equal to generate old. All right, and then it creates a log file. So let's go ahead and copy that log file to create external table2.sql. So it has a bunch of stuff in it which you're going to edit just right now, actually. Okay, so the first thing is let's go ahead and remove all of this. Okay, and then let's go ahead and remove this. Now we want to use the zip file, so I'm going to change that to and it kind of did its best guess on what these should be, but this should be 50. And I was going to use the external loader. External table2.log. And all we need now is a preprocessor line, so let's go ahead and add that. We're actually using the zip file from the previous example, and that should do it. So let's look at how that works. Identifier was pre-process. Oh, you know what? I misspelled preprocessor, so let's fix that. Create external table2.sql. It helps if you can spell preprocessor. There we go. Now let's go ahead and go back. that's it for this particular segment.